Welcome, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through this explainer today. We are breaking down the sweeping April 30, 2026 executive order, and let me tell you, it is completely reshaping how the federal government buys goods and services. If you operate in the federal contracting space, the ground has literally just shifted beneath your feet. We're going to dive right into this new mandate that's pushing cost reimbursement contracts out the door and making fixed price contracts the absolute default. Okay, let's start by looking at this truly massive figure on the screen. $120 billion. I mean, wow. That is exactly how much the government spent on cost reimbursement consulting contracts in fiscal year 2024 alone. It's a staggering amount of money, and it is the specific target of this new executive mandate. For years, taxpayers have been footing the bill for cost overruns, and the government is finally making a decisive move to cap that exposure once and for all. Here's our roadmap to navigate this huge transfer of risk. We'll be covering the $120 billion target, the new fixed price default, the implementation timeline, weighing the FFP risks, and finally, the contractor's survival guide. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the $120 billion target. To really understand the gravity of this executive order, we have to look at the historical context. The government's frustration with cost overruns isn't new. We've seen a push to move away from cost reimbursement before. Back in 2009, there was a presidential memo establishing a preference for fixed price. Then, in 2010, the DoD launched its Better Buying Power initiative. But, despite those efforts, accountability reports showed that the share of new cost reimbursement contracts actually increased, so past suggestions just didn't stick. Because of that, they're now making it a hard, unavoidable rule. Now look at the high-stakes contrast we're dealing with here. Under the old normal of cost reimbursement, the government pays for your allowable incurred costs. Basically, the taxpayer bears the risk. But under the new reality, firm fixed price, prices are locked in upfront. It's like a hot potato financial risk being tossed directly from the taxpayer right into your lap, the contractor. If you underestimate your costs, well, you absorb the loss. Which brings us right to Section 2, the new fixed price default. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding exactly what this April 30th executive order mandates for your future bids. The directive is crystal clear. Firm fixed-price contracts, or contracts that tie profit directly to performance-based metrics, are now the presumed standard wherever practicable across the entire executive branch. Cost reimbursement, time and materials, and labor hour contracts, they're no longer your standard options. They're the rare exception. And to use those exceptions, contracting officers must now provide rigorous, written justification explaining why a fixed-price approach just wouldn't work. And wait until you see how strict this gets. Any non-fixed-price contract over these dollar amounts now requires personal, written approval by the agency head. We're talking over $100 million for the Department of War, $35 million for NASA, $25 million for Homeland Security, and $10 million for all other agencies. This requirement injects massive bureaucratic friction into the award process. An agency head cannot just delegate this to a career procurement official. It has to be a non-career appointee. That means getting a cost reimbursement contract approved is going to be incredibly difficult moving forward. Now, there is a silver lining if you happen to work in these specific fields. Where uncertainty is truly unavoidable, the order carves out explicit exemptions. If you're supporting an emergency, a major disaster, contingency operations, or if you're doing pure research and development or pre-production major systems acquisitions, you are exempted from these harsh new agency head approval thresholds. But for pretty much everyone else, the fixed price rule applies. Moving on to Section 3, the implementation timeline. You might be wondering just how quickly you need to adapt to these changes. Well, let's look at the ticking clock. The pace of this rollout is genuinely surprising. Within just 45 days, the OMB director issues implementation guidance. By 90 days, agencies are mandated to review their 10 largest non-fixed price contracts and actively seek to convert them to fixed price. This means if you hold one of an agency's top 10 non-fixed contracts, contracting officers are likely going to be calling you to renegotiate very soon. And by 120 days, formal FAR amendments are proposed. Talk about a fast track. But the pressure doesn't just stop after the initial rollout. Agencies must now submit semi-annual reports to the Office of Management and Budget detailing all approved non-fixed price contracts. This ongoing reporting creates a totally transparent, durable record. Knowing they have to report these exceptions to the OMB will put major pressure on contracting officers to default to fixed price, even on smaller awards well below the formal multi-million-dollar thresholds we looked at earlier. Which leads us to Section 4, weighing the FFP risks. Knowing the timeline is one thing, but understanding how firm fixed price acts as a double-edged sword for your business is absolutely critical to your survival. I want you to really let the legal weight of this FAR definition sink in. Firm fixed price places upon you, the contractor, maximum risk and full responsibility for all costs and resulting profit or loss. You are now completely on the hook for unexpected cost overruns. The safety net is officially gone. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. If you have strong cost controls and proven execution models, fixed-price contracts offer some really fantastic benefits. First, margin upside. If you perform efficiently and come in under budget, you get to keep the difference. Second, a massive reduction in administrative burden. You don't have to deal with complex incurred cost submissions or stressful DCAA audits. And finally, these contracts often feature faster award times because the price evaluations during source selection are just so much simpler. However, without the government covering actual costs as they're incurred, the risks are severe. Look at inflation risk. You absorb all material price volatility and labor rate escalations. Then there is schedule risk. Any scope creep or schedule slip impacts your bottom line dollar for dollar. And perhaps most terrifyingly, the literal anvil dropping on your head, default termination liability. If you fail to deliver on a fixed-price contract, you are exposed to reprocurement costs, meaning you might have to pay the difference if the government has to hire someone else at a higher price to finish your job. Yikes. That can easily turn a profitable contract into a massive loss. So, how do you protect your business in this new reality? Let's formulate an actionable strategy in Section 5, the Contractor Survival Guide. Your very first line of defense is the Economic Price Adjustment, or EPA clause, under FAR 16.203. This is a contractual mechanism that allows your fixed price to be revised upward or downward based on specified contingencies, like actual labor or material cost fluctuations. But here's the catch. Contracting officers aren't always going to volunteer this clause. You must affirmatively request it in your proposals, especially for multi-year contracts, to equitably balance the risk of inflation between you and the government. If an agency seeks to convert your existing cost-type contract, or if you're bidding on a brand new one, you must follow these precise steps. First, develop new ground-up pricing models. Actually, scratch that. Do not even think about simply converting old cost estimates into fixed prices, because your risk profile has changed entirely. Second, demand incredibly clear definitions for all work scopes and deliverables during the Q&A phase to prevent scope creep. And third, as we just discussed, formally request those economic price adjustments. Because the financial stakes are literally higher than ever, relying purely on internal legacy systems might not cut it. Leveraging external acquisition support can be a total game changer. Bringing in proposal review consultants can ensure your scope is crystal clear and competitively priced. Utilizing knowledge managers can help you build institutional systems that track real costs efficiently. And utilizing market research services can validate that your real-world pricing models are actually defensible. These tools provide the strategic edge you absolutely need to win and safely execute these strict firm fixed-price contracts. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look at your current pipeline, evaluate your estimating systems, and ask yourself this vital question. Is your next proposal priced to survive? The era of cost reimbursement defaults is over. The taxpayer safety net is gone, and the risk is now entirely yours. Will you sink under the pressure or adapt and capture those massive fixed price margins? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into the new mandate. See you next time.